This video is to help people wanting to get into wildlife sound recording. You will find helpful tips and techniques, as well as useful bits of kit and the skills needed to start your journey into the world of sound. This is just an introduction and should not be taken as professional advice. I am a HND sound production student wanting to help people get into the area of work I am interested in. The first thing you'll need when starting to capture sound is something to capture the sound with. I managed to get hold of a H4 Zoom recorder, which has 2 microphone inputs and can record up to 24-bit 96 kHz in .wav form. After recording, it is easy to connect to a PC or Mac and transfer the files to edit. If you cannot get your hands on a H4 Zoom, then you could purchase a Tascam DR05 recorder. It does not have any inputs for microphones, however, but it can also record into .wav file. If you're going to use the H4 Zoom, then you're going to need some microphones to attach to it to capture the sounds. These 3 microphones are specially made for capturing specific types of frequencies. They all connect to the H4 Zoom via an XLR cable. The B2 Pro is for capturing high frequencies, perfect for bird chirps, meerkat squabbling, or kitten meows. It has a frequency range of 20 Hz to 20 kHz. The Shure SM58 is for mid-range frequencies such as dogs barking or human speech. It has a frequency range of 50 to 15,000 Hz. And lastly, the AKG D112 is for low frequencies, such as a lion roar or sea lion barks. It has a frequency range of 20 to 17,000 kHz. For the editing part, you'll need some good software to edit the sounds and cut them up. Logic allows you to cut the sounds up as well as adding some effects. For animal sounds, you might want to change the EQ to boost the frequency of the animal's sound while taking down the frequency of other things in the background that might have crept into your recording. Please note, Logic will not run without a Mac operating system. If you can't get Logic, then Audacity is a great free software available for download online, which allows you to do the same things I mentioned Logic could do. However, Logic would be the preferred software as it has a much more advanced editing suite than Audacity. Either of these programs would be great. Logic has an added advantage of being able to add in a video to the program so you can match your sound up with a visual. As well as Logic and Audacity, Pro Tools would be a good editing software as well. Below are some tips to help you capture sounds. These tips will help you be less noticeable to wild animals. Obviously, animals are spooked by loud noises, sudden or quick movements, and unwanted human interaction. You don't see a lot of birds and squirrels hanging out beside busy motorways. So when approaching an animal, make as little noise as possible and try your best to stay hidden. A good way to stay hidden is to wear dark clothing. If you're going to record in a forest, wear dark greens and brown so you blend into the background, kind of like camouflage. If you're recording near open water, perhaps get a green or brown blanket and cover yourself, with the microphone outside of the blanket, of course. Bright or fluorescent clothing will attract the animal's attention, alerting you to its presence. Next, try not to move from space to space. Try and stay in one space for a long while. Eventually you will blend into the background and animals will stop noticing you. This means you have to stay very still as well, but you will produce amazing results. Staying in one space for a long time is a good tip, and while you're there, make long, continuous recordings. Animals are unpredictable, and sometimes you won't be able to capture a sound if you have your recorder turned off, so continue to record until you decide to move. Finally, using a mount for your microphone is a good idea. Handling noise is not an easy thing to edit out, but it is easy to produce, unfortunately. If you are able to mount your microphone on a secure place, then handling noise will be erased. In this video is a dog barking. The audio was captured by me and the video was taken from YouTube. I captured the sound of a dog using the H4 Zoom with an SM58 microphone. I researched how loud a dog can bark in hertz to choose what microphone I should use. I found out a dog can bark anywhere between 160 Hz to 2630 Hz. The SM58 was perfect for this as it has a frequency range of 50 Hz to 15,000 Hz. I ran into a problem with its audio, however. I filmed the dog in a room with laminate flooring, not the best idea. The sound from the dog bounced off the wall into the microphone, and also every time his claws hit the floor, the mic picked this up too. To correct the laminate flooring sounds, I cut up the audio and chopped out the barks in Logic. It sounded like the barks were hitting a brick wall because I had to cut them so close. I added some reverb to stretch out the bark and added it to the video. I used this video because it makes sound a lot more real and is a good way of practicing syncing. Please note this was my first attempt. The space I filmed this dog in was not a good space. Always research where you are going to record your subject and check out how the acoustics of the room will affect the recording. The lions. One thing to focus on when capturing sound from wildlife is to be careful and unseen, if possible. Animals, especially wild ones, will act differently when humans are present and may not make noise if they think they are in danger. The lions were my toughest subjects. Lions make 90% of their noises at night under the cover of darkness. Not an exciting prospect to be huddled up near lions in the dead of night with a recorder. Also, the enclosure where the lions were kept had nowhere to conceal me from the lions, so I thought I would just get as close as I could and get a sound of some sort from them. I got there early in the morning before they had been let out of their enclosures. They were restless as they knew they would be let out soon. On one side there was a large male lion and a lioness. I decided to focus on them. The Zoom H4 has the ability for you to change the microphone input gain to L, M or H, low, medium and high. I got as close as possible, about 3 feet from the enclosure, and set the input gain to M. I used the D112 microphone because the frequency range of that microphone is 20 to 17,000 kHz, and a lion can produce a sound up to 114 decibels and up to 240 Hz. At this point, the lions were making low rumbling sounds. With the mic gain set on L, I had the sounds coming in at 6 dB, a good level. Suddenly, the male lion produced a huge roar. It peaked on the recorder, but I got the sound I wanted. It suffers from a little distortion because of this peaking. With animals, you have to be patient, and if after a day's recording you don't get the sound you were looking for, go back. I was lucky enough to get the lion sound within 45 minutes. The lions roar. The Californian sea lions. The sea lions were kept in an enclosure outside with a small pool. There's a small opening between the ground and the barrier, so I decided to try and pop the microphone in between there, making sure it didn't get wet. The sea lions get their name because their roar is much like a lion's roar. Before recording, I had checked out to see the frequency of a sea lion roar and couldn't find anything. However, seeing as it was described like a lion roar, I decided to use the AKG D112 mic again. I positioned it and listened through the headphones. Unfortunately, the sound of running water from the penguin enclosure next to them masked the sea lion noises. Next, I went into the sea lion show. I found out where the sea lions would be performing and was informed to the left of the stage would be a sea lion giving an oral demonstration. I positioned the microphone on that slide, making sure it didn't get wet, and set the gain at M. It is about 12 feet away from where the sea lion would be. A lot of the audio was noises from the crowd, but when the sea lion barked, it masked that. One downside of this recording is that because it was recorded in a large interior room, it sounds a bit echoey. I was lucky and these sea lions were performing a show, and when told to bark, barked. In the wild, it wouldn't be as easy. The next sound you are going to hear is the sea lion recording I got. In the wild, sea lions will be underwater, so a hydrophone, pictured to the right, would need to be used. A hydrophone is a specially designed microphone for use when recording or listening to sounds underwater. It can be placed in a waterproof case and put into the water. Usually the microphone will be hidden in plants or rocks on the seabed, or, if the wild animal isn't too dangerous, handled by a sound recordist to try and get a sound. Hydrophones aren't only used for sea lions. They can be used for all manner of underwater creatures. Most commonly, they are used to capture the songs of whales. A lot of whales are very friendly, curious, and intelligent. They do not mind human interaction, so recording them isn't a problem. However, orcas, or killer whales, are more dangerous. They are commonly recorded by dropping a microphone attached with a cable into the water and waiting for them to produce a sound. The chimpanzees. Chimpanzees are very territorial, so at the place I captured the sounds, they were kept on a separate island, and the only way to view them was on a boat. This caused problems as we were very far away and the noise from the boat could be heard. I set the gain on high because we were about 20 feet away from the edge of the island and it wasn't guaranteed they would make any noise. Chimpanzees rarely make a noise, but produce fantastic screams when they think there is an invader. These calls can range from 20 to 1000 Hz, so I used the B2 Pro microphone. These particular chimpanzees did not like it when someone, other than the normal boat drivers, were in the front of the boat, so when I was there they weren't too pleased. I stuck the microphone out as far as I could to try and avoid the sound of the motor. I stood up and raised it at an elevated level. The island was at a much higher level than the boat as well, so the microphone was at a better level too. Finally, the chimp made a sound. However, it was very short. The sound of the motor is very obvious as well. I got feedback from a professional who suggested that with the right shot, however, it may be usable. I would suggest in this situation, try your best to avoid any background noise. In this case it didn't work, but if you persevere with other solutions, you may find one to work for you. The sound you'll hear next is a chimpanzee recording I got. Birds of prey. My final recording is of birds of prey. These birds were very vocal and I managed to get a lot of good recordings. This is one of my best recordings. Birds produce high frequency calls. For this animal, I used the B2 Pro microphone and set it on the medium gain. I was about 10 feet away from the bird and set on the M gain, it was coming in on a good level. The reason for the rise and fall in this bird's call is because it kept moving its head. This isn't a problem as the length is good, so it can be cut and repeated if used in a shot. If you're recording birds in the wild, the trick is to stay in the same position for a long time. If you keep your position, you will eventually blend into the background and won't be noticed. Also, the longer you stay there, the more likely you will capture some sound. The best time to record birds is early in the morning around dawn. You can capture some really amazing bird songs at that time. Look in forests, woodlands and parks for all types of birds. The next sound you'll hear is the bird sound I got. Wherever you go to record and whatever you are recording, remember all the tips listed beforehand. And remember, good quality equipment will produce good quality sound. Saving up for the correct hardware and software will save you money in the long run. As always, make sure you are safe and never put yourself in danger for the perfect sound. If you are very new to the sound industry as a whole, you might want to see about applying for a college course in sound production. Glasgow Kelvin College and Edinburgh College in Scotland both offer sound production courses which range from NC level to HND levels. The aim of this media is to provide people interested in sound recording in the natural world a short introduction to the role. I also wanted to show how I applied all my knowledge and skills to my graded unit project. I hope that by reading this, you can start to buy good equipment and have a bit more knowledge on how to capture sounds from animals. One thing I will add is contact professionals in the field. They will be more than happy to provide you with information and it is a great way to network. If you would like to give feedback or have any questions, please email me at jeanbeatty92@gmail.com. Thank you.